Hey everyone, so I put out a video, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago about my DPT wrench. That's this little thing on the drill right here, and it's a drill powered through wrench. Now today's video is not going to have any fancy editing cuts or anything. I'm just going to record this video from front to back to answer some questions that I got on that video about the DPT wrench. It's always hard when you have just a short period of time, 4 to 5 minutes, or even less sometimes, to answer a lot of questions or solve a lot of the details. So I thought I'd take a moment and do a thorough look, take a thorough look at the DPT wrench. Now, for those of you who are just coming to see these, the fun builds and the projects, that's not what today is about. I thought about putting this on my second channel, but I really need this to reach the broadest audience possible, so here it is. First of all, let's talk about the DPT wrench and why I invented it. I invented it for speed. I made this wrench to be fast, and that is the number one reason why I invented it. I did not invent it to break bolts. I didn't invent it for getting rusty nuts off of, or rusty nuts off of bolts. I invented it for installers who are doing signage, who are doing, HVAC, drop ceilings, fire suppression. That's who I invented this wrench for. Or, people who just run a lot of all thread like myself. I spend a lot of time running bolts down running nuts down bolts, and I just want to get it done quickly. So I use a lot of Nylock nuts. If you're not familiar with what those are, it's just a regular nut that has a nylon ring inside of it, which kind of acts like a slip collar, so the nut won't back off, or it's not supposed to back off. Sometimes best case scenarios aren't the best case scenarios, and it does come out. But for that purpose, especially when I'm running down 2 or 3 feet of all thread, I want something to get the job done fast. You can't just spin it down by hand. You can't, use a wrench, because it's just going to take you forever and a day. And that's kind of where the DPT wrench was born. Now, what I want to show you first off, for those of you who aren't familiar with the DPT wrench, it's this thing right here. Not the handle. I made a makeshift handle that I can mount my drill to it. And it's simply a wrench that you put a drill in with a hex bit into this bottom hole, and it runs these, what do you call them? and it runs what are called through sockets. And the through sockets have a standard opening, and they have an opening in the middle. They go with a through socket wrench, and they're interchangeable, so you can put different size sockets into that wrench. For those of you who are not familiar, let me grab one here real quick. It looks like this. So the sockets go in here, and you tighten it down, and then it goes over the top of the thread. Well, that takes a long time. So what I wanted to show you how fast this is. Okay, first of all, for those of you who haven't seen it, watch this. Battery's dying. So that's the speed of it. Now, I had a lot of people ask, well, does it have a lock on it? Can you push a button on it and lock it so you can really tighten things down? Well, here's the thing. I've designed this so robust that you don't need to. And I don't want to turn this into some kind of infomercial, because that's not what this is. You can literally put all the torque that this drill can offer onto those gears, and they'll be fine. And that's one of the reasons that the price tag is right around 130 bucks. It's a specialty wrench that is built as robustly as we possibly could build it, so it can take some abuse, and that was the point of this. So you don't need a wrench. You can tighten everything down as tight as you need to tighten it down in all of those industries without you having to use a wrench. On the flip side of that, you can also loosen bolts up. So now I can sit here and make faces grunting and showing you that I'm tightening this down as tight as possible, but that doesn't make sense, because you're not going to believe it. But I've got a big wrench on here. I'm guessing that's probably about 125 pounds of torque. Watch. I put it in reverse. It doesn't even know that it's been torqued down, or very little. Let me show you that again. This time I'll use the wrench to tighten it down. So I've used the wrench to tighten it down. Let me tighten it down a little bit more if I can here. Maybe. Come on, get on there. All right. I don't know what the torque is on it. It's a lot. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, reverse. Again, it did not even really, you didn't feel it. There's no pull in the wrench or in the drill. That that torquing action or the driver action makes it really simple. So that's why we designed the wrench as robust as we did. That's why it is as expensive it is, because we did not spare a dime on materials. We did not spare a dime on the engineering. We made this one really tough tool. Now, I know there's still people going to scream about the price tag, but I would say to those guys who are screaming about a $130 wrench, go price out a Snappy Tool specialty wrench. I think they start at $150 and go up from there. So for a specialty wrench, this is really a very reasonable price if you look across the market, across the board. And I want, from the side of developing it and making it, manufacturing it, I should be charging a lot more for it. I'm not even making the manufacturing cost back. So when it costs me to manufacture, it's not like I've doubled it or tripled it even. I'm quite literally not making that money, if that makes sense. I'm not making 100% on that. So by the time I pay for the boxes and everything else, I'm really only making about 40% of the manufacturing cost of the wrench. They're not cheap to make because we made them just as tough as we could possibly make them, and that's fine with me. I'm not looking to get rich on this. I just want to make sure that I get the tools into the hands of people that need them and make their jobs a little bit easier. So one more time, let's see that thing in reverse. Now I will tell you, if you're running Nylock Nuts down on that, to not use a driver, to use a standard drill, because if you're using an impact driver like this one, it just slows it down. It's like and you're much better off using a regular drill. That one's coming out. Yikes. So much for epoxy. So made it really tough. Made it for industry pro guys. I mean, this isn't a toy. We made this thing to take a lot of abuse and to last a long time, and that's where the price tag comes from. I had a couple of choices to make. I could either send it to China, be the guy who's making a cheap tool that is cheap and really not worth the effort, or I could be the guy who's making an amazing tool at a decent price. And I chose to be the guy who's making an amazing tool at a decent price. Here we go. Can definitely tell the drill battery's dying. So that's it in a nutshell. You don't need to lock this thing down. The drill has enough torque on it. I think this one, I don't even know what this one is 260 pounds of torque, foot-pounds of torque. That's translated through the gears directly onto the nuts and bolts. You don't need a wrench. So if you have any questions, throw them down in the comments section below. I will sit around for a couple hours and try to answer questions. And for those of you who are here for normal videos and stuck around for the whole thing, come back tomorrow. We'll be back to our normal wild and wacky fun stuff. I've got actually a pretty fun build that a lot of people will find useful, I think. We'll see. You guys can be the judge. Talk to you soon.